So let's talk about how to get amazing veil photos like these. If you have a bride with a long veil, one of the top staples of wedding photography is a beautiful veil shot. Sometimes these can be hard to pull off, but I'm going to share with you all today how I usually pull them off whenever I have a long veil at my weddings. So let's start out with the things you'll need. Clearly, you'll need a bride with a longer veil. While you can take shots with shorter veils, it's just not the same as a nice, long, body length veil and how it can fill up the frame. You'll need an assistant or a second photographer. Again, with these long veils, it's a lot to deal with, so having an assistant or second photographer is extremely helpful. Also, if there's no wind, you're definitely going to need more hands, and I'll talk about that later. A wide angle lens. Now, you want to shoot with the widest lens you can get. Generally, a 24mm or for crop sensors, a 16mm is a great focal length. Now, I've never tried it with anything crazy like an 8mm or something, but if you have, please let me know in the comments below. And last but not least is wind. Now, obviously you cannot always have this, but when there is actual wind involved, it makes the shot so much better and so much easier to handle. So let's break down setting up for these photos. First off, with your wide angle lens, you're going to want to shoot wide open and as close to your couple as possible. Again, if you're using something like a 24mm, you almost should be able to just reach out and touch your couple. That's how close you're going to be to them. Back up as needed, and if you have a longer focal length like a 35, you'll need to back up just a little bit more. But again, a shorter focal length is going to give you a better result. Once you start grabbing the veil and trying to set it up, let your couple know to play around with each other. Have them tickle each other, cuddle up nice and close, forehead to foreheads. If you need some ideas for poses, I already have that video up here. But have them doing something. Don't just have them kind of holding each other or looking at the camera. You want this to look natural, because what we're going for is like the wind blowing and the veil just happens to fall into the frame. Clearly, you're creating this look, but we want it to look as natural as possible. So let your couple know to play around with each other and just have a good time. And if there's wind, let the wind take away the veil while you're holding one part of it. This helps out a lot because it's going to fill in the space of the frame and you don't have to have an assistant do it for you. Now, with this all in mind, let's actually look at some of the shots I took and break down how I was doing these. So let's start out with one of my absolute favorite shots. This was a shot that I took at a styled shoot a while ago. Honestly, I want to say 2018. I can't remember exactly, but this was an absolutely amazing veil shot. The model did a great job. Her facial expression is absolutely amazing. I love this photo so much. So to start out, what was I shooting with? This was the XT2. I actually had my 23mm, so that's a 35mm equivalent. I know I was saying use a 16mm or 24mm, but you can also pull it off with a 35. I was at f2, which is wide open for this lens, and my shutter speed was 1/4000, and my ISO was around 500. So again, it was getting late in the evening at this point, which is why my ISO was a little high, but honestly, I could have dropped it down if I wanted to save image quality just a little bit, but 500 really isn't that high. So let's break down how I actually did this shot as far as how I'm holding the veil. So again, like I said, we're shooting with a wider lens. I have my 35mm on me. And generally, you're going to be the one holding the veil here on the left side. So my hand's there on the left side, holding it up, filling in the frame. You're going to be holding it very close to your lens. Enough so that it's actually in the frame. So like really like right up on your lens. Also, I have an assistant holding this side of it. Now, the biggest thing you want to get out of this is a swoop. Everything has to feel like a swoop. So you have this swoop here, kind of coming up this way, and then this swoop here kind of coming around. And the reason the swoop is so important is because this has to do with it looking like the wind is filling up your veil. And that's the biggest thing you always want to get. Now, obviously, she adds some dynamics here by holding it herself, and it also makes it look like the wind is almost blowing it away. So this was a perfect choice by the model. Now, again, it looks like the wind is coming in like this. And that's the biggest part of this whole thing is we need to make sure that we're doing it in a way that looks natural to the wind. It looks like the wind kind of picked this up and blew it, and I just happened to catch the shot. That's what we want out of every single shot when we're doing our veil shots. So let's take a look at another example. This was a wedding I did a while ago. Their engagement session is actually up on the channel. I'll link that up above so y'all can check it out. He actually follows the channel and is a photographer himself. So shout out to the couple. Give them some claps in the comments below. But again, we're doing the same thing here. With this shot, the videographer was actually nice enough to be my assistant. I was shooting this wedding by myself. So here we can see again, I'm filling up the frame. Let's look at the settings. So again, I was on my 23 f2, which is a 35 mil equivalent. So this is again more proof that you can pull it off with a 35 mil. It doesn't necessarily have to be a 24. I was wide open at f2. My ISO was 200 and my shutter speed was 1/400. You can kind of tell this was closer to the end of the evening. If you know weddings, couple portraits usually comes up after the ceremony, right before the reception starts. Now, my videographer is over here on the left side. He's holding it up, giving us this swoop here. And then I'm holding it on the right side here, up close to the lens, giving us this swoop. Now, this was near impossible because if you know cameras, they're only right-handed. So I had the camera in my hand and also the veil. That's usually pretty hard to do. Generally, you're going to be doing it where you're holding on the left end, but I pulled it off somehow. We have our couple here filling up the frame, forehead to forehead, beautiful smile, bride dead center, looks great. And again, this looks like the wind came from kind of this angle here, filling up the veil from the back, blowing it towards the camera. Out of everything that's most important, how you make it look like it's filling up the frame is absolutely hands down the most important. And our last example here is not a veil shot, however, it's the same concept. So keep in mind you can do this for big dresses or anything of that sort. This was a shot I did at Imaging USA a year ago when I was leading a photo shoot. And honestly, like, this could not have turned out better. This was an amazing shot. The model did great here as well. As far as settings, I was using a zoom lens. I had a longer lens on me. I think I had like a 50 mil. And I wanted to shoot this shot, so someone else on the photo walk let me borrow their lens, and I had it at 16 mil, but because it was a zoom lens, it was at f4. Now, again, I am not a fan of zoom lens for that exact reason. f4 was as low as I could get my aperture to go. So because of that, my ISO was at 800, and my shutter speed was at 320. 320 to stop motion, because 250 may have stopped motion, but it still could have been moving. And since I had the dress kind of flowing everywhere, I wanted to make sure I could stop the motion. So I had to raise my ISO since I could only go to f4. Now, normally if I was shooting this with my own gear, I'd be shooting it with the 16 mil f1.4. So I would have got way better results overall. But again, what's happening in the shot? I have an assistant here holding this side of the veil on the right. I'm holding the left side. Again, generally you're going to be holding the left side because that's going to be your free hand while you have your camera in the other. And we counted down the moment, but the model flipped her dress in the back here to give this in the back, which really adds to the whole effect of everything. And now you can see filling up the frame, we have swoop here, and then it's really forming a frame around our model here in the center. This also helps bring your eye directly here to the center. And again, all of this is happening because I'm shooting on a 16 mil. And that's why you want to shoot wide. It makes the veil look so much more epic, so much wider, so big. And especially when you're filling your frame with your couple or your model, it just frames up so well. Now that you know how to take amazing veil shots, make sure to do this at your next wedding where you have a bride with a long veil. If you have any other tips or comments, let me know in the comments below, and check out this playlist here to learn more about wedding photography and make this year an amazing year of wedding photography for yourself.